Hi there, this is Khanya, and we're still celebrating Africa Day with Nelson Mandela University. And today we are traveling further up north in the continent and paying homage to one of my favorite cuisines, Tunisian cuisine. And today we're making a fiery chili condiment known as Harissa. I've taken my own liberties today, and I'm doing things a little bit differently in a more approachable way. And today I am centralizing chilies, fresh chilies as well as dried chilies, just to add that extra bit of dimension. I've also got red peppers here, which are going to play an enormous role in building flavor in our condiment. So the first thing that we've got to do is we've got our red peppers, which are washed, of course, and then what we're going to do is we're going to roast these on a really high heat. Okay, and the purpose of this is we want to singe the skin so that it easily comes off. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're almost going to burn the peppers. So don't panic if they start to look like they're really catching on fire or burning, because that is what's going to incorporate this beautiful smoky flavor that we want out of our harissa. Now the spice element is thyme. Is a very commonly used herb in Northern African cuisine, but we've got a dried version today because I just feel like it packs a bit more of a punch. We've also got coriander seeds and cumin seeds, as well as some smoked paprika, garlic, bird's eye chilies, red jalapenos, rosemary, fresh coriander, olive oil, fresh tomatoes, and also some dried chili flakes. So whilst we have that going, we're going to dry roast our whole spices. Alternatively, if you do not have a gas stove, what you can do is you can rub the red peppers with olive oil, and you can put them in the oven on grill function, and it should build the same amount of flavor. So what we're going to do right now is we've got our dry pan, and we really just want to get it to be super hot. Okay, so while we wait for that to heat up, we're going to start checking in on our peppers, and there's just a lovely sweet and smoky smell that's just coming through. And as you can see, they're really just starting to torch, and that skin is coming off quite easily. So once our pan is nice and hot over here, it's a dry pan, we don't add any oil. We add about a tablespoon's worth of cumin seeds and coriander seeds. Now this part is essential. And no matter what kind of pans you have at home, these are not going to stick. So on contact, there's already a really rich fragrance of spices that just comes through. And what we want to do is make sure that we don't scorch the spices, but just build flavor and toast and roast them. But these are really looking great. This is exactly what you want, because when you touch the skin, it just kind of falls off, which is great. Okay, so we've got one large onion here. And what we're going to do with that is we're just really going to roughly chop it up. Because remember, folks, this is all going to go into the food processor at the end of the day. So you can take liberties and chop things as roughly as you feel. The traditional Tunisian harissa does not necessarily contain onions. It's more of a chili and garlic-based preparation. But because I want mine to go a little bit of a longer way, I'm going to add onions. Okay. So they're kind of like big quarters in a sense. So now as you can see, like some of the those amazing flavorful juices that are coming from the pepper are starting to drip out, which is totally okay. And these are really starting to look the way we want them to look. That right there, my friends, that's where the flavor is at. Because I love garlic, I'm gonna add about 4 cloves. We're just going to smash them rather than chop them finely. Good stuff. And when you do this, the garlic peels just easily fall away. Okay, so once these are ready, and they've basically filled your kitchen with this beautiful fragrance, we can remove them from the heat and we can chuck them straight into a mortar and pestle. If you don't have one of these at home, that's okay. It's all right if you put these into a food processor as well and just kind of, you know, just grind those spices up. They don't have to be completely fine. Oh man, what a fragrance. Just be careful you don't burn yourself. But that's what we've got going on now. We've got these really, really beautifully charred peppers. Great fragrance. Skin is falling off like it's nothing. Amazing. We've got a pan over here which we're busy heating up. I'm gonna add a generous glug of olive oil and our onions and garlic from earlier can go straight in. There you go. So I want to heat these up slowly and then like get them to a really, really high heat and caramelize them, because every step of making this is just building flavor. I'm going to take my rosemary and I'm going to add, I've got one sprig too many. I'm just going to pop 2 in there. And we're just going to let that kind of do its thing and caramelize beautifully. There we go. And we're going to leave it alone for a bit. Okay, so they're still quite hot. Just want to halve them. And then as you halve them, you just carefully open them up and look at all that, those great, beautiful juices, which, you know, you shouldn't throw away. When I make these types of preparations, I try not to discard any part of the vegetable at all and just try and incorporate everything. So we've got this juicy pepper, and now we're going to cut it into quarters, and in a scraping motion, we're going to remove the skin. There we go. It's not a train smash if some of the seeds stay behind, some of the skin stays behind. It really isn't. I'm going to turn the heat down on my onions now because I really like the way that they've caramelized, and I am super happy with the way that looks. They're just about ready for us to start adding the spices and the rest of the ingredients. Just like this. They really don't even have to be cut that finely. It's okay if you get a little bit of those charred bits in there. Actually kind of nice. Okay, so I've got my red jalapenos, which I'm just going to roughly chop. These are not quite as spicy as they are sweet, but the bird's eye chilies, now those are spicy. These have got some kick. For these, I err on the side of caution and remove the seeds. If you're doing this at home, I would advise for you to wear gloves when dealing with chilies. Okay. Chilies go in. So we've got our fresh chilies that have just gone in right now, and then about a tablespoon's worth of dried chilies. That might have been a bit more. Then we're going to incorporate the rest of our spices, which is our smoked paprika, which is going to add another burst of smokiness into this. That's also about a tablespoon's worth. I'm gonna just get it all involved. We have another extra cup of extra virgin olive oil, which I'm going to pour half in right now. And that is good stuff. And when cooking with fresh rosemary, what I always like to do is when I feel that I've incorporated enough of that rosemary flavor in, I just like to discard it and put it to the side. A tablespoon of our roasted spices from earlier. There we go. Alrighty. This looks really good. Just put the last of our olive oil in here. Don't be alarmed about the amount of olive oil that's going in here, because this is, after all, a paste, and we need to give it a little bit of movement. There we go. So we're gonna let this simmer nicely and let those tomatoes just do their thing and decompose and cook and soften up. And we'll give it another 15 minutes. And once that's done, we're going to put this in the food processor and blitz it, and we're gonna see what the future holds for it. So we've been cooking this harissa for about 15 to 20 minutes, and it is looking amazing. So what we're gonna do now is the final step, which is just to blitz it really quickly and get it into the beautiful paste that we want. All right. Let's do this. Alrighty. That looks delicious. Now to check seasoning. Let's have a look. This is gonna be spicy, so excuse me if I cough. That's beautiful. That is just what we wanted. The spice is not crazy, and it's kind of like a low and slow heat. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Now I want to just show you guys a practical way of using this in, an everyday dish. So what I'm going to do right now, which is like an ideal thing for busy people, because I know I'm a busy people, is a tray bake that just incorporates all the elements of like a really good home cooked meal just in one tray. Bang in the oven, bang out of the oven, and it's dinner served. So over here, I've got some chicken portions. Thighs and legs are my favorite, more specifically thighs, which I'm going to give just the lightest season. Okay. Along with some veggies. Whoopsie. You can use any veggies you like. I'm just gonna use some butternut and sweet potato, which are my favorites. And just distribute that in the pan equally. You can pop some rosemary in there if you like, just as a continuation of that herb, from earlier. And let me see. We've got some beautiful chunky red onions over here, which you're also gonna pop in there. And then of course, our hero, the harissa, which we're gonna liberally pour over. This is gonna act as a sauce the moisture is going to cook the chicken and the vegetables. And then of course, once we remove the covering, it's also gonna caramelize beautifully, and it's just gonna create such a nice char on the chicken as well. And those spices are just gonna really complement everything that's going on in this dish and just bring it all together. Lick of olive oil to make sure that this cooks evenly and fairly. We're gonna foil it up. Make sure that we cover it. So that it all cooks nice and evenly. But for now, I'm just going to pop this in my hot oven. There we go. Just in the center of the oven is fine. Okay, so now we're gonna check in on that delicious chicken tray bake. Ooh, how great does that look? Now that is what I call a winner chicken dinner.